Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our partners. We coach the global community of women in high school sports, the Florida Coaches Coalition, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You've heard me say many times, these are four great organizations. You really need to add them to your network. And now, don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 4 minutes and listen to our sponsorship shout outs. These are all great products that you should have helping you out. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform for the podcast, and it's also your one-stop platform for scheduling, student athlete clearance, state association networking, and so much more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus and just loved it, used it every day. Our parents and our coaches loved it, and the Home Campus staff was outstanding to work with. To get started, go to home-campus.com and sign up. That's home-campus.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Join the 6 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. At huddle.com, you're going to change the way you see the game. When I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that they provided to help them coach their athletes and prepare them for the next level. Huddle is a complete professional grade solution to the challenges we face as ADs. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Go to huddle.com and get started today. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com, check out their entire platform, Snap Connect, Snap Manage, Snap Store, and of course, Snap Raise, their fundraising platform. We used it with great success, and so can you. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. That's snapraise.com. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to gipper.com, see how athletic directors are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channel. At gipper.com, you don't need any special training, you don't need a special device, and you can do it in seconds. That's gipper.com. Mention the podcast, you'll get a nice little discount. We also want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They can transform school tributes to make it easier than ever to celebrate your whole community, showcasing your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their products, and when you're ready to buy, mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount from them. That's Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Bring your school's legacy to life. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. The leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. Hometown has helped thousands of schools and organizations across the country seamlessly provide convenient digital ticketing options for their communities, their families, and their fans. They're also going to provide you with a dedicated client success manager that's giving you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. Check it out today. That's hometownticketing.com. We also want to thank District 1. Go to District 1, that's WON, and you're going to feel like you've won because District 1 offers fully custom premium uniforms with on-time delivery in 20 business days or less. You also can order one-at-a-time replacements, so you'll never have to replace a full set of uniforms when you only need to order one or two pieces. Stop dealing with late deliveries. Go to district1.com. That's WON 1 on the back end. Click the Team Gear button and get your free quote at district1.com. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo to see their tables and their boards in action. They not only generate income for your department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Check them out today. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Athletic Surveys can create a custom survey for your school that's going to allow you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. ADs typically only hear from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic Surveys connects you with that 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that love and support your program. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Get the data that you can use when you're talking to that frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Virginia today, and we're going to visit with Laura Parker. Laura's a registered athletic administrator, and she's an assistant director of athletics for the Virginia High School League. So we're going to hear a little bit about how they run things in Virginia. Laura Parker, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a busy time. You and I were visiting in Florida. We're all wrapped up. And for our listeners, we're recording this on May 30th. Virginia's still going strong with state championship events. So we're going to hear about that a little bit more. But Laura, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through the high school and college years, and then we'll take a break and then come back and hear about your early career. But what's the Laura Parker story?
Sure. I was born and raised in Yorktown, Virginia, where the Revolutionary War was won. I played basketball. I swam competitively, and actually, then I had a career-ending basketball injury, but kept on swimming. I went to Radford University and majored in health and physical education, and also recently just got my master's from George Washington University in educational leadership and administration.
Wow. Take me back through those competitive years. I was not a swimmer at all. My swimming is, jump in the lake, swim, and jump back out again. So what was that like at the competitive level swimming?
So I swam from an early age. I started swimming. Summer league is very big in Virginia, and a lot of fun actually too. I started swimming when I was 4 and swam all the way through. They did not have high school swimming at that point in time, so you swam for a club. So I swam all the way through high school, and then actually tried to do a little bit of college, and decided I liked college a little bit more than I liked swimming at that point in time. But I did swim all the way through high school and college a little bit at the beginning.
Okay. Now, what was your events in the water? The last school I was at as an athletic director, we had swimming, pretty good team too, but those distance events, I know the swimmers, they would hold the cards down in the water, under the water, so they knew how many laps they have left. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's for
Were you
the
a sprinter?
500. Yeah, I was not a distance swimmer. I was a butterfly or breaststroker, and like the shorter distances a little bit more. So more in the 100 and 200 range. But yeah.
Okay. As you, we'll talk about your career, but again, going back to your competitive times, high school and college athlete, what are some experiences that stick out for you that at the time you really didn't realize it, but years later when you became an athletic director that you gained from that experience? Anything stick out for you?
Yeah, honestly, so my injury was actually one of the major reasons why I sort of took the path I did. When I broke my ankle pretty badly, had a pin and washer put in it. Back then, that wasn't, as easy as it is now. So I had to actually not even hardly touch the ground for 6 months. I was on crutches. And to be honest with you, it sort of changed my trajectory at that point. That group that was my friends that I had played basketball with since I was small, sort of, I drifted one way and away from my team because I just couldn't get back out there on the court. So, I always, in coaching and when I became an athletic director, I really stressed on my teams, and then as an athletic director, that doesn't matter if you're number 1 or number 12, everybody should feel important. And if something happens to somebody, that you really, really need to keep that relationship strong and keep them involved in the team. Because it changed my friendship groups. It changed a lot of things in my life. So it was one of sort of the major reasons why I kept in the direction I wanted to go as far as being a coach and eventually an AD.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to guess part of your rehab was spending time in the water, correct?
It was, yeah. So I went heavier back into swimming after I could get back in the pool. Yes.
Okay. For our listeners, our guest today is Laura Parker. She's a registered athletic administrator, and she's an assistant athletic director with the Virginia High School League. We're going to hear a bit more about that as we get into the interview, but let's go and take our first break. We'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association information management platform for the podcast. And it's also your one stop platform for things like scheduling, student athlete clearance, state association networking, and so much more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus at my school every single day, and it was just fantastic. And the Home Campus team was fantastic to work with. If you want to find out more about all the things that Home Campus can do for you, go to home-campus.com. That's home-campus.com. Get started. See all the things that Home Campus can do for you and your program. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools, the smart cameras, the analytics, everything that Huddle provided that allowed them to coach our kids at the highest level. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're visiting today with Laura Parker from the Virginia High School League. Laura, you kind of took us up through, the high school and college days. Share, if you can, some of those early teaching and coaching positions that led to becoming an AD and ultimately to your current position with the Virginia High School League.
Great. I actually started coaching very early. I mentioned some of those summer leagues. I started coaching swimming actually at the age of 12 and helping with the 6 and unders. And then as I kept on coaching swimming. And then after I graduated from Radford University, I coached basketball at that point, started with middle school. And then actually in my first high school job, which I eventually became the athletic director of that school, I was hired and honestly wasn't quite ready for that head coaching job, but I was hired for it. At that point in time, you just said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, when you were offered a job. And so I took a job at Grafton High School in Yorktown, Virginia. And at that point, it was a brand new school. So I was the first varsity coach for girls basketball. That was when basketball was in the fall. And then eventually swimming coach. And I was a middle school softball coach because we were a combined school. So one side was 6th through 8th and the other side was 9 through 12. So I actually taught on the middle school side and coached a little bit on both sides.
That we hear the expression a lot, and it certainly applied to me when I became a head football coach at 25 years old. You don't know what you don't know. Looking back, what were some things that you didn't know?
I think the biggest thing for me was you take everything really, really personally. And, things hurt your feelings a little bit more. And the parents get to you a little easier. And so the principal that actually hired me, and he's definitely one of my mentors, he passed not too long ago, Mr. Carmines. He told me one time when I was struggling, he said, are you giving 100%? And is it always for the kids? And I would say, yes, sir. And he said, well, you know what? That's enough. And that's all you have to keep in mind. Are you giving 100%? And is it always for the kids? And so I think, you know, I was excited for the position, but when you get parents sort of, you know, in being parents as they are, it's tough to not take it personally. And so that's basically the biggest thing probably at that point, being young.
Yeah, I would go right along with that. You want to do good, and you're young, you're eager, you're passionate. I had one of my mentors tell me, Jake, that talking about kids, they're never going to love it as much as you love it. Okay. You became a coach, they're just playing, and, most of them aren't going to become it. So, I didn't like that at first, but he was absolutely right. You understand that, everybody comes to it with their own prism. We'll talk about this a little bit more, but you made the jump from being a school-based AD to working for the state association. And I'm sure the Virginia High School League is very much like our Florida High School Athletic Association here in Florida. Great people, former coaches, former ADs. What attracted you to make that move to work at the state level?
I think for me, it was a progression of, I had been, like I said, I was at Grafton High School pretty much my whole career. I was a middle school athletic director and assistant high school athletic director for 11 years. And then I became the AD for 15 years. So for me, it was a natural progression. It was a huge step because I had actually, except for college, never lived away from Yorktown. So I did have to move. So that was a big decision, but I think from it, I was ready to. I used to always say, you know, as an AD, you're sort of coaching the coaches, and here I feel now I can help other ADs, and that was sort of, you know, my why. Like, can I touch a broader spectrum of people and help a broader spectrum of people?
Mm. No, and I think that's a great viewpoint. Athletic directors are the ones that are working with the association on behalf of their coaches and their athletes and their teams, and it's having that relationship and speaking the language of an athletic director. I think is critical. You can sometimes tell people from the state association that they might have been coaches, but they weren't ADs. And it's a little bit different viewpoint. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
We're going to hear more about the Virginia High School League in another segment, but let's go and take another quick break. Again, for our listeners, we're visiting today with Laura Parker. She's a longtime athletic director and coach. She's a registered athletic administrator, and she's an assistant director of athletics with the Virginia High School Leagues. Let's go and take that break. We'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Snap Mobile is the parent company for an entire suite of platforms that you can find at snapraise.com. Go to snapraise.com, check out Snap Connect, Snap Store, Snap Manage, and of course, Snap Raise, their fundraising platform. We used it at my school with great success, and so can you. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anybody else offers that. Go to snapraise.com to find out more. That's snapraise.com. We also want to thank Gipper for their support. Go to gipper.com, see how athletic directors are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channel. Kids today are on social media, and if you're not creating posts to feature your athletes, your teams, your coaches, even you, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com. They'll show you how to do it. Mention the podcast, and you'll also get a nice little discount. That's Gipper.com. Start creating custom content for your school's social media channel. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Laura, one thing that I really enjoy listening to is when our guests share some of the mentors that they've had in their lives. None of us get to where we're at on our own. So, who are some of the people that have helped you along the way?
Certainly, I would probably say my father was probably my first one. He just really taught me what a strong work ethic was. He came from a background of farming and then went on to be in the National Park Service, which is why I lived in Yorktown. And he just had that strong work ethic and never let me really quit anything. And he also taught me how to treat everyone with respect, no matter of their position. And as an athletic director, you know you work with a lot of different people, put a lot of different hats on. You're in the school when only the custodians are there, and they become some of your best friends, right? And so you, no matter who or where, my dad sort of taught me like you can learn from everyone, and that was one of the main things. And then I mentioned before, probably my one of my first high school principal that I worked under was Mr. Carmines, and again, he hired me for my first coaching position, and sort of made sure to keep me there and keep me focused on the importance of why we worked. And it was always for the kids and just to continue to do 100%. And so those are probably the two that stick out the most for me.
Now, you mentioned earlier that, the role of the AD is kind of coaching the coaches, and now, with your state association, you're coaching ADs. Um, have you had an opportunity? I'm sure you have, but have you had an opportunity in your leadership career where you have been able to serve as a mentor to someone and maybe share how your mentorship has helped them along?
I would hope I would, that was with a lot of my coaches. I was big on hiring alumni, just because those individuals that played at Grafton knew what I sort of expected, and that I was heavy on athletic departments. We're not one sport versus another. We were Grafton Athletics. And so when I hired those, I have actually a group of my whole cheerleading squad, was competitive cheerleading and sideline cheerleading, that all were alumni. And so I would think that all of them would say I was instrumental in how they coached and the program that they formed. And they are 6-time state champions now. So that would probably be my group that I would say I mentored and sort of brought through. And again, I learned from them as well. So I learned things that everybody on my staff could use. So
Let's go ahead and jump into what you're doing with Virginia High School League. Most state associations, the directors, they'll be assigned, different sports. What are some of the things that you're doing right now with the Virginia High School League?
So I am in charge in the fall sports. I have volleyball and field hockey, and so I run those state tournaments. Work closely with the rules interpreter and do the rules clinics. I also, in the winter, I do swimming, and in the spring right now I'm soccer and softball. And then I am also over coaches education committee, as well as our in Virginia, we use our school very heavily. That's for all of our eligibilities, etc. schedules, and I work with our school. So I'm sort of the liaison with them. So that's sort of my role as far as right now.
In your time, I think I read where you've been with Virginia High School League for about a year now. You know, what's been what's been one of your favorite experiences, and what's been, as we like to say, a learning experience for you, if you could share that?
I think for me, I did early on, I did some weekly webinars and on different topics that I knew would help new ADs and honestly old ADs, because you always steal from other people per se to make your programs better. So I did weekly webinars and on different topics, whether it be organization. I just gave a talk at the Virginia the VIAAA convention on basically overcoming the overwhelm, how to help yourself in the office type thing. And so that's been really rewarding. I would like to do more of that. And probably the biggest surprise for me has been how much dealing with officials. Officials, when you're an AD, you schedule them, you shake their hands, you make sure they're safe, you give them water, and you shake their hands and say goodbye, right? And that's not so much here. You really work with commissioners and a little bit deeper than I really ever thought I would. So and I've enjoyed seeing that other side. So it's definitely been something different, I thought, for sure.
Yeah, I want to pick your brain a little bit on officials, but we're going to save that for our next segment. Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Laura Parker, longtime athletic director and now a director with the Virginia High School League. We're going to take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. The Wall of Fame is actually an interactive touchscreen video console that's going to highlight your school's greatest moments, past and present, in academics, athletics, and the arts. It's also a great way to display your school records or your school's Hall of Fame. For more information, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their great products. And when you're ready to buy, use the link vitalsignswalloffame.com/Jake, and you'll get a nice little discount. It's Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Bring your school's legacy to life. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support. Hometown is the trusted leader in digital ticketing. And if you go to hometownticketing.com, they're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, how to scan the attendees that come to your events, not just athletic events, but things like school plays, concerts, dances, even graduation. They'll also show you how to collect your revenue, and every step of the way, you're going to have a dedicated client success manager that's providing you hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com and get started. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Laura Parker, longtime athletic director in Virginia and now a member of the staff for the Virginia High School League. Laura, you mentioned that you'd spent some time in your job with Virginia High School, working with officials. I'm still a high school basketball official here in Florida, and I work as an official college and high school track meets. We all know that there's an officials shortage, and I think most state associations are working to promote, great sportsmanship. Let me ask you a question as an AD, and I'm not trying to get preachy here because when I was a coach, I was not the best example, okay, as far as relating with officials. But um, where do you, let's say personally, maybe not professionally, where do you draw the line with coaches chatting to officials? The example, and I'll use basketball because I hear it all the time. Hey ref, you missed that. Hey, that was traveling. Hey, you got to call it both ways. Hey, you're killing us, or add some volume and intensity and some arm flailing to that. Okay, where do you as an AD draw the line? I would tell our coaches for all sports, I'm paying you to coach the kids. If you're yapping at the officials, who's coaching the kids? So, what's your philosophy on that as an athletic director?
I sort of used to spread this really throughout my staff and parents, but as a coach, how you act filters, right? It's going to be how your athletes act, and a lot of times you can change the whole direction of how the fans act. In my parent meeting, I used to say all the time, how many times, if you're screaming and yelling at a ref or saying things to a ref, have they changed the call?
Exactly. Yeah.
Never, right? Never. And they're never going to admit right then and there if it was even a bad call anyway. It's not going to change anything. So yes, do we all have high emotions at times? We do. Do we all think, oh my gosh, that was a horrible call? Yes, it might have been, right? But in the end, it's not going to change anything. So we all have to, I say walk on, walk off, all the same way, all the time, win or lose the same way. And it's sort of that same way, they're human, officials are human, coaches are human, players are human, parents are human. Everybody makes mistakes. And so, and it doesn't help to be yelled at to make those mistakes better. And so I think it's really, really that communication from every angle, that's the only way it's going to get better. And I really did not put up with it. And one of the biggest things that I really thought of, the Virginia High School League, we have a sportsmanship. It's called the Claudia Dobson Award. And that was one of the things I really strove for at my high school, to win that award. And that means no ejections, no violations. And my athletes, they all knew that. My parents all knew that. It was something that I thought was important. And that's the only way to continue to get better at that, to make sure that it is a top priority, and that I call them stakeholders, right? Your community, your parents, your coaches, your kids, everybody works together as a team to make it better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. On the human thing, you're going to get some bad calls. But in pick your sport, maybe not swimming, but football, soccer, basketball, there's going to be a ton of 50-50 calls. So as a coach, why don't you try to turn those 50-50 calls into 51-49 calls in your favor? And it's not why you do it. It's the right thing to do, but referees are human, and you're going to want that call, in the fourth quarter, maybe coach your kids and not worry about the officials.
Exactly.
Certainly sportsmanship is a best practice, and that's one of the things we try to do with this podcast, is share best practices. From your perspective as a longtime athletic director and now with the state association, what are some best practices that you have seen, or maybe you did at your school, that you can share with our listeners? Anything come to mind?
I think over my years, my 15 years, the biggest thing was to have a plan. Every year, and this doesn't happen overnight. Strategic plan doesn't happen overnight. When I first started, I did it by myself. By the time I ended, it was always with other, like I just said, stakeholders. But build that strategic plan, and that sort of gives you that direction or roadmap to keep you and your department on, focused on what your vision and mission really is. It builds that culture at your school. Everybody sort of knows. It doesn't have to be shown all the time everywhere, but if it's in your parent meeting, it's in your meeting with your athletes, it's in your coaches meeting, they know the direction that you're moving. So that was a big thing for me, is to always have that plan. Stay organized. That's another one. Plan that year. I used to set it up by month. I'm a big list person, right? So I have it set up. August, I need to do this, every month. It doesn't mean that, that list isn't going to change. Yep. That list isn't going to change. But have that list, and make sure you're looking at it often. And then I think probably one of the best things as an AD that I did, and again, I got better and better at this throughout my 15 years, because in year one, if you're doing it, that's great. But I used to have one day, mine was Sunday after church, and that day I would come in a couple hours, make sure I had all my emails set up for the week. So to my admin, to my coaches, to my opponents, and just making to my, bus people, officials, everything was set up. Everything went out on Sunday. My ticket takers, and just to make sure that I was organized for the week, and had coverage, and knew where had to be and where everybody else had to be. That was huge. And to me, again, year one, you didn't have the technology I had in year 15, right? So year one, it was just an email. By year 15, the schedule can be just sent, right? It was already in a system and it could just be sent out. So that was huge. And the other thing probably to me, and that was organizing my day. I think fires happen all the time, right? So you come in and you get on your email, and then next thing you know, it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and you're starting to set up for your games. Block out your time, so know that okay, I can spend an hour on email. Then next thing I do, I need to go and check on my facilities and make sure they're ready for the afternoon. The next thing, so organize and blocking my day, that was major for me. And again, don't worry about getting that list done. Just know that, it's going to be there tomorrow. Just tick off what's the most important things. And then probably last is I'm a communication relationship. So again, I got better at this as the years went on. I really believe in scheduling time to meet with your coaches. Really after COVID was when I probably got the best at it. I figured, okay, I always had my coaches meetings, but how can I really, really sit down with these coaches, build my relationship with them, know how they're doing, what they need from me. So I would schedule bi-weekly individual meetings with my coaches. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but away from the gym, away from the field or wherever they are, and just come into my office and you're not in trouble. Come in and let's sit down, let's talk. And so that really, really, really made a difference. It kept me close to the team because I would ask them, how are things going? How's the team? What's the good? What's the bad? And it really became a time that my coaches look forward to and I look forward to. And again, it was bi-weekly. I would do my JV coaches one week, my varsity coaches the next. And so it really helped me have a pulse on my team.
Yeah, boy, what a great list of best practices. I hope you saved something for our toolbox. But no, that's fantastic. And the one, your last one, those meetings, I would tell the coaches, something comes up, come in and see me. I'll be walking through your practice. Just keep on coaching. I'm excited. I want to see what you're doing. But having those informal conversations, really helps build. And you talked about it, build those relationships. Great stuff. Okay. For our listeners, if you haven't been paying attention, our guest today is Laura Parker, a longtime athletic director in Virginia and now an assistant director of athletics with the Virginia High School League. We're going to take another break, but we're almost done. This is the Educational AD Podcast, so please stay with us. We want to say thanks to District 1 for their support. That's District 1, WON. And you're going to feel like you've won because District 1 offers you fully custom premium uniforms with on-time delivery in 20 business days or less. And get this, you can also order one at a time replacements, so you'll never have to order a full set of uniforms when you only need to replace one or two. Stop dealing with late deliveries and go to district1.com. Again, that's WON, district1.com. Click the Team Gear button for your free quote, district1.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, check out their products, and schedule a live web demo to see their tables and their scoreboards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. They not only generate income for your department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Laura, we were talking during the break, and you mentioned that you really feel, community service is an important part of your programs. Share with our listeners, how they might be able to incorporate that into their program.
So I actually did this as part of my strategic plan at Grafton, and we had we themed it, everybody likes a theme, everybody likes a t-shirt or, bracelet or whatever it might be. So we actually did what's called, we called it One Team. And the athletic department as a whole concentrated on supporting the community inside the school and outside the school, as well as each other. Because how I phrased it to the kids when we first launched this was, no one else really knows how much an athlete puts in but another athlete. And so as the One Team initiative, again, every program did a community service, and I did one inside the building or inside the school area, and then one outside school. So for instance, we did a cleanup day, and every program came and did our facility cleanup day. And then we did, two programs came in and painted the numbers on the parking lot. And so they did this together. So it could be the volleyball team and the field hockey team working together to do a project. So they got to know each other. It wasn't a competitive thing. They were together doing things. And then we also did, because it was called One Team, they also made sure they went to each other's sports and supported each other. The things such as golf, and that doesn't necessarily get seen a whole lot. My field hockey program went and hung out at a golf match. The golfers came and watched a volleyball game, and it was just a neat program, and the kids enjoyed it. And the other thing is, most kids have to get a certain number of community service in school. Why not get it with what you do in your athletic program? So it's a 2-for-1 deal. You don't have to do it outside of when you're, probably practicing 6 days a week and doing homework after practice. You can get it during that time, that 2-hour practice, and get your community service in right there. So that was one of the things I really, really found to help everybody and really bring everybody together as a group.
ADs are always struggling to build that fan support, to connect the teams, to keep the coaches from getting into that silo mentality. And what a great way to encourage the student athletes and the coaches to go out and support the other programs. We'll hear from parents. And again, I'm a little bit older than you, but we'll hear parents that lament how it was back in their day. Well, back in their day, we didn't have so many teams that now the fan base, they're no longer fans. They're on other teams. They've got their own thing going on. So great idea from you to connect those teams and get them to support the other programs. Okay. Laura, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit about how you did things at your school, or even questions about being a director at the state level, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
So probably email, and that is lparker@vhsl.org. Feel free to email me anytime, and I can get in touch back with whoever.
Okay. And Laura also has a fledgling Twitter account, follow her on Twitter, help her build up that her Twitter followers.
Yeah, I had quite a lot when I was the athletic director. I gave that account to who followed me, so now I have a new one. Yes.
All right. Laura, this has been really cool. Spending some time with you. It makes me want to come up to Virginia and hang out with you a little bit. But we're not done yet. We always end with the athletic director's toolbox. You certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but in just a second, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, we're going to find out what Laura Parker is going to put into her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic Surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. ADs typically only hear the complaints, those complaints coming from the 2% that want to gripe about everything. And athletic surveys will connect you with the 2%, but they'll also connect you with the 98% that really love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with one of those complainers or your school board or your principal. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that allows you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. You'll find it all at athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Laura Parker, a registered athletic administrator and a director of athletics for the Virginia High School League. She's a longtime AD herself, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Laura, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Well, I would say number one, most important, is to build your own all-star team. So this can be your staff, teachers, student volunteers, other ADs, and even parents. Very, very important to, we're not good at everything. So have those people on your all-star team that are good at the things you're not good at. I had one go-to teacher. She did not coach anything. She was the photography teacher, and she was my go-to because she could get something done, computer for me quick, a brochure up for me quick, whatever I needed. And she was just a fantastic resource. And she was probably one of my number ones on my all-star team. So that would be the first thing. Probably the second is to not try to do it all at once. I liked to add one new thing a year. So whether my first early on, it was an athlete of the week and a team of the week. And then later it was the one team, which I just talked about with the community service. Then the next year it was impact night, having the students introduce and say what teacher had impacted them the most. So just sort of one thing that you could do every year, but don't try to do it all at once, because those programs won't make it through, unfortunately, if you're trying to do it all. And then probably the last thing, and this took me a while to really get through my brain, but just remember to have fun. You went into being an athletic director, a coach, for a reason. Get to the practices, get from behind your desk, make relationships with, your student athletes and with your coaches. And just remember, you can't make everyone happy. And some years are better than others. There's always going to be an unhappy coach, an unhappy athlete, and certainly an unhappy parent, right? But so just continue to remember, you can't make everybody happy, and just enjoy yourself. And just to add a fourth one, to me, one of the biggest things is to reflect often. Sometimes we don't necessarily do that. I call it reflect and reset. And sometimes you need this weekly, sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it can be yearly, but always just sit back and look and say to yourself, are you focused on your why, and are you working on what matters most? And so those are probably the 4 things that if I was to look back on my 15 years, that I think you probably need the most.
I love your term, create your own all-star team. Great visual for that. And of course, have fun. I would joke, but it was true. I would say being an athletic director, it beats working for a living. We've got a great job. Yes, there are challenges, but it's a fun job to have. Laura, thanks again for spending some time with us during a very busy time for you with championships and everything. One more time, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain, listeners, I think you got a great resource here. How can they get a hold of you?
Yes, email again is lparker, Parker, @vhsl.org.
Laura Parker, Virginia High School League, thanks again for sharing, and all the best with your last couple weeks on the job, and then hopefully you get some downtime in the summer.
Yes, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
For listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Come back next time for another great interview on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.